So we've talked before about ALCL. We'll talk more about ALCL. Let's just talk about what it means in terms of if a person's diagnosed with ALCL, what changes. So ALCL just seems to be an inflammation-related type of lymphoma associated with textured implants, more so the coarse textured implants and less so the more gently textured implants. The way that it tends to show up is what's called a late seroma, meaning a person may have had implants for months or years with a textured surface around them, and all of a sudden one breast gets dramatically larger than the other because there's what's called a double capsule. When your body sees an implant, it builds a wall of scar tissue around it. It uses that to separate it from the rest of your body so that it doesn't have to keep interacting with it at the same level. Well, sometimes with textured implants, it wants to create a relationship where the body and the implant grow well together, but because of overactivity or because of one thing or another, that never forms. So your body builds one scar layer around the implant, and then over time, more cells develop an additional scar layer around just the implant. So you get a capsule on the outside and a capsule on the inside. And it makes the implant on the inside act like a smooth implant and creates a potential space between the implant and the capsule. That potential space is what fills up suddenly when the person has this late seroma. So if a person has a late seroma and they go to see a plastic surgeon, they'll be asked, the plastic surgeon will take some of that fluid most likely and send it off for lab studies. And if there's ever any evidence of this lymphoma in those lab studies, then the next step is to treat or to speak with somebody who does this enough to know and be an expert on how to treat it. And there's both a surgical component and potentially a non-surgical component. The surgical component is to treat it as though it doesn't have ALCL. In other words, just if you have a double capsule as a surgeon, the solution for it is to remove the implant and remove the capsule. That all is sent off to be evaluated by a pathologist to make sure that what's there is everything and what's there is what we thought it was. And then sometimes there's additional treatments that are recommended after that. Those recommendations will probably change and evolve in time, but the one thing that will be the same is removing the scar tissue and removing the implant.